Every developer and their dog seem to want to make the next Fortnite so they can have an infinite money glitch for their foreseeable future. As AAA game studios keep pushing for live service games because the people who make decisions are out-of-touch executives and not gamers, the shot callers have seemed to have lost the plot. It doesn't matter if you lose hundreds of millions of dollars on failed project after failed project, just as long as one of those projects hits. But there is a reality that these executives are either missing or ignoring, and they just don't want to face the truth. The market is saturated now. Even if you make a super great game, how many people are going to want to leave the current live service that they're playing? They're invested into that game, and sunk cost fallacy is a thing for a reason. So the alternative, aka your new game, has to be very enticing. But let's say they actually do pull some players like Arc Raiders recently just did. Well, the next problem is time. People just flat out don't have the time to play all of these live service games. At best, someone might play 2 live service games, and more often than not, a person is tied to just one. That is their game of choice, the one that they can just play for a couple hours a night after slaving away at a job all day and then putting the kids to bed. People just don't have the time. Ironically, the push to develop these live service games really happened with the gaming boom that occurred during the COVID pandemic. Remember that hopefully once-in-a-lifetime event that had everyone locked in their houses searching for a new hobby to latch onto? Some people made sourdough, others got back into gaming, and as a result, the hobby of gaming grew rapidly. But in the age of late-stage capitalism, the line must always go up. So never mind that White Swan event caused an unnatural surge in players getting back into the hobby, studios had to equal that and exceed it quarter over quarter, even after life returned to normal. If you even consider any of what the fuck is going on in the world right now to be normal. But I mean, people have returned to their day jobs and had less time for gaming. Playtime metrics took a hit, but executives needed the glory days to last forever. Back in 2023, Sony announced that they would release 12 live service games by March of 2026. Well, that announcement has aged like milk. I found a great Reddit thread from over a year ago showing all the cancelled live service games since that announcement. You of course have Concord, easily the biggest failure in gaming in terms of cost to produce versus players that it drew in. Fair Games, a competitive modern heist game that was lambasted when it was announced, and likely won't ever see the light of day. A Spider-Man, Twisted Metal, and God of War live service that were all cancelled. A Last of Us multiplayer that was in development for over 3 years before being cancelled. 3 years. Imagine working on something for over 3 years, all for that work to just never see the light of day. That would be incredibly depressing. I recently made a video talking about the sad state of affairs and how the pursuit of live service is robbing us of so many other games that could have been made with those resources instead. So check that video out after this one, and if you like gaming discussion and reviews, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and come check me out on Twitch as well at itstizzle7. I'm currently playing through all the Dark Souls games for the first time, so that'll be quite the adventure. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. That list of failed live services is just from one publisher, Sony. Think of all the other companies out there that are trying to chase live service games instead of making games that artists and gamers actually care about. Or maybe don't think about it too hard, as it may depress you. And one thing that I want to add about these successful live service games is some of them just happen totally organically. Fortnite was actually a PvE focused game to begin with, but they tacked on this fun battle royale and turned it free to play to try and entice people to buy the main game, and look how that turned out. You also have the Destiny franchise. Destiny 1 had expansions, and then they made Destiny 2, and under Activision they were supposed to make a Destiny 3, but instead Bungie just kept iterating on Destiny 2 because why not? It evolved into a true live service, but the intent wasn't to make it a successful live service game back when it was in development, just like with Fortnite. Now you have everyone trying to make the next big thing, but the successful games are the ones who are just trying to make a fun game. Look up the development story behind Nazi zombies from Call of Duty World at War as well. It was a totally organic thing that wasn't even supposed to get put into the game, but the passionate devs snuck it in there because they thought it was a fun idea. And because of that fateful decision, we saw how popular zombies became for COD. The point is, now they're putting becoming a successful live service ahead of what truly matters, which is making a fun and unique video game. That is why so many fail. They are passionless games led by bean counters and focus groups and data points. Oh, the data says players want this, so let's sprinkle some of that in. Gotta appeal to the casuals to grow the player base. You have all these ideas that are just trying to capture certain segments of the audience, even if they don't fit into the identity of the game. Therefore, you get all these underbaked systems jammed into a game to make it an inch deep and a mile wide to try and capture the largest audience. But then it ends up hooking no one because none of the systems are fleshed out enough to make it fun for the people you are trying to appeal to in the first place. They aren't just making shit that they find fun, and that's the problem. There's too many non-creatives that are shoehorned into gaming now because it's such a lucrative business. But all these C-suite members have totally lost the forest for the trees. They're wasting millions of dollars pursuing these projects, and they're not realizing a very crucial element that live service needs to survive: players. Sony recently announced Horizon Hunter's Gathering, and time will tell to see how that game performs, but let's say all their live service games that they had planned to release back in 2023 actually came out by March 2026. Who the hell's going to play all these games? A quick look at the Steam chart shows CS2 far and away the most popular game, followed by Dota 2, PUBG, Arc Raiders, and Rust. That is the top 5, at least as of the writing of this video. Arc Raiders was a smash success and proof that it is still possible to release a successful live service in 2026, but doing so is no easy task. So if 1 out of like 50 companies actually do strike lightning in a bottle and make a game people will play for years to come, that steals from the shrinking player base. Those people who are logging into Arc Raiders every day are not going to play your new game. Fortnite is run on the Epic launcher, so we don't have Steam chart data for that game, but they have millions of consistent players. Again, the people that love Fortnite are probably going to keep playing Fortnite. Maybe if it's a free-to-play live service, they will hop in and check it out for a bit, but they're unlikely to give it up for a new game. Destiny 2, Fortnite, Apex Legends, they were on the cusp of live service when they came out, so they had a huge leg up. It was an easier market to penetrate because it was less saturated than it is today, so people got hooked on those games and never wanted to leave. Now that they have so much time and money invested in those games, it will be very hard to draw them away. Again, Arc Raiders is proof that it's possible, but it's a massive challenge. There was recently a post on Twitter from Reb Ford, the creative director of Warframe. They said that when Warframe released, they had 435 other titles to compete with on Steam in 2013. Now, they have over 20,000 games released just in 2025, not to mention the incredible games that have all come out between 2013 and now. I, for one, plan on playing all the From Software games this year, as well as the Witcher series, and hopefully Cyberpunk and Red Dead 1 and 2. Not to mention that last year I played a ton of older games that I hadn't got to play yet. Gamers have so many more options now. Again, the big limiter is time to play them all, and live service games demand more of your time than any other genre, and it's not even close. I put 150 hours into Hades, another 100 or so into Hades 2, 70 into Hollow Knight, 120 into Silksong. I've put that much time into a single Destiny season, which only lasts like 3 to 4 months. Another problem that these new live service games have is they just flat out aren't as good as some of these long-running games. Warframe always hums along around 50 to 60,000 players, and those are really strong numbers, but Warframe, again, came out in 2013. They've had over a decade to refine their game and build it in a way that the community enjoys playing. To release a brand new live service, the truth is, you just don't have that feedback yet. Yes, if people stick around and provide that feedback, then it can grow and evolve into a great game eventually. But the chances of you releasing a fully fleshed out game to compete in this market against one of these already established live service games is a very tall order. Yes, Arc Raiders proved it can be done, but more often than not, you will just end up like Highguard. Destiny 2 was my live service of choice for about 7 years, and it grew and evolved over time and had its ups and downs, and now many people have moved on. But again, they are a franchise that had the advantage of being early, and even with having an established core fan base, over time many of those people moved on because of the direction they took with the game. Their GM at the time even gave a presentation on how to run a successful live service back in 2022 at GDC, and now it seems that that company doesn't know what to do to keep their players. Their so-called expertise was a huge reason Sony acquired them in the first place for $3.6 billion, and now I'm wondering if they're having buyer's remorse. Because even if certain strategies worked for you in the past, clearly they are not an indicator of future success. The truth is, no one totally knows what they're doing. Again, Arc Raiders is proof that if you focus on a strong, addictive gameplay loop that puts the player experience first and respects the player's time, then you may have a fighting chance. But many studios do not do that. They put monetization first. Or, as we recently saw with Highguard, they intentionally hold back content like they did with their skill tree so that they can add it in later as content. You have to come out the gate swinging and put your best foot forward. Hell, Battlefield 6 was the highest selling game of 2025, and they just laid off staff this week, and while they do have around 50,000 players a day on Steam still, it's a far cry from the 750,000 the game launched with. Even with 4 studios and the support of EA behind them, they seemingly haven't been able to update their game in a way that satisfies their player base. But again, even with all of that, they still have 50,000 players a day, which is 50,000 people not playing your new live service game because they're battle dads who want to play Battlefield, not your new unknown live service. Just look at Splitgate 2 or Splitgate Arena Reloaded or whatever it's called. They had breakout indie success with the first game, and then they got too big for their britches. They wanted to expand and grow and get bigger. This alienated their core fans who loved the game for what it was, while not appealing to new fans because chances are they are already embedded in shooters that they already like, be it Call of Duty, The Finals, Battlefield 6, Marathon, what have you. Then they released the game before it was ready, but you know that the cash shop was working fine selling $100 skins. Just insane. Justin Truman said it in his GDC interview when talking about Bungie. First trust, then retention, then revenue. Many live service wannabes are jumping straight into the monetization without gaining that trust first. Embark, creators of Arc Raiders, released a couple playtests first for people to get their feet wet and see if the game was for them. Great start. People liked it and the buzz around the game grew organically. Then when it shipped, it was mostly feature complete and well polished. Again, very important. And third, it seems the monetization in that game is very fair. Granted, it's not free to play live service have to make their money on cosmetics, otherwise they get nothing, but it is proof that people will still gladly pay upfront for a good game. I actually liked the gameplay of Highguard, but again, it was very bare bones. The sad reality is redemption stories like No Man's Sky are the exception, not the rule. Most people, if you don't hook them on that first impression, are just gonna bounce. Look at Halo Infinite, launched at over 250,000 players, and now it can barely retain 1% of that player population. By all accounts, that game is quite fun now and they improved a lot on it, but they released it before it was ready and the vast majority just never stuck around. Again, this is the norm. Monster Hunter Wilds released with an all-time peak of over 1 million players on Steam. Now it gets anywhere from 20 to 50,000 players a day, a massive fall off. I have heard that they've made a lot of improvements and fixed the endgame, and when the Iceborne style expansion drops, probably a lot of people will check back in, but many have simply moved on, because the game was released before it was ready, very clearly, and I have no sympathy for these companies that do this. Patch it later is such a bullshit excuse, especially when the game is fully priced like Monster Hunter Wilds. If people are paying for a game, they deserve a complete game. Diablo 4 is another. Paid game with live service elements, then you have Path of Exile and PoE 2 in the mix. So if you like that style of game, you have 3 pretty good options to choose from. Which do you stick with and why? And then if you're a competitor in that space, how do you pull people away from games that they already enjoy? You can look at almost any genre and see that there are competitors in that space. So you have to absolutely bring it if you want to draw players away. And as more and more companies try to become the next big thing, it makes it even harder for the next competitor to cut through the noise. We have reached market saturation on live service games. There just aren't enough people, and of the people you do have, they just don't have the time to commit to more than like 1 or 2 live service games. Again, these games are very demanding of your time. Why would someone move on from a game that they've invested thousands of hours into and maybe thousands of dollars to take a chance on some new live service that may be completely shut down in a year or 2? Look at what happened to Anthem or Marvel Avengers or Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Deadlock is a game that looks like it will cut through, but it's still in beta. But when it officially comes out, it will be very well polished. But it's super hard for companies to compete with the likes of Valve, who have all the time in the world to make their game the best it can be. Same goes for a studio like Rockstar with GTA 6. So the reason I wanted to make this video was to point out that the math ain't mathin'. Not every live service game out there can be commercially successful. It's just simply impossible. There are too many games and not enough time. And as these companies keep pumping more and more out, the odds of success get smaller and smaller. It is time for these executives to pull their head out of their ass and let creatives make games that they would actually want to play. That is the key. It's why Arc Raiders worked, it's why Deadlock will work, it's why games like Slay the Spire 2 and Mugenics have worked. And it is also why so many fail, because so many are being made as a vehicle to separate gamers from their money, instead of trying to give gamers a product that they will enjoy. Hollow Knight and Silksong are the perfect examples. No one was clamoring for a Metroidvania about bugs, but the games are so well made and delivered such a great experience that they grew through word of mouth, organically. People came to love them and for good reason, and they wanted to share that with others. And that's how gaming should be. Put the customer first and the rest will hopefully follow. It doesn't always work, but if you don't do that, then you're sure to fail. Let me know down below if you play any live service games and what you like about the live service of your choice. And if you don't, also let me know why. I know as time goes on, I like live service games less and less, and with each failure, I hope it pushes us more towards games that respect the players. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching if you're still here, and leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more, and as I said earlier, come check me out on Twitch at itsizzle7 and join the community Discord. Links in the description. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.